All right, hi everybody. Welcome back to D-Pod. We have another BTS episode. We got a special guest today, Kevin Huang.
What's up?
Hello, finally.
Hello,
we finally have Kevin on. We had Emily on before, but we just had like a Lead Bros lunch today.
Dude.
And then use that as an excuse to have Kevin come back to down to Hyde Park and record this. So
Yep, it's good to be here.
nice. So Kevin is the other full-time guy, the full-time lead bro in Chicago. All right, so you're the first one besides me that's being interviewed for D-Pod. Right. So I think we got to ask just about kind of full-time life, you know, and kind of hear from you what that's like. So what's it like being a full-timer in Evanston? What is it that you do, Kevin?
Yeah, what do we do, DP?
That's the question.
That's a question. Yeah, what do we do? We kind of do a lot of stuff, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I think a lot of it is, we should just talk about message prep.
Yeah, message prep. Yeah, that is a big part of it, right?
Yeah. I guess as a pastor, that's the one thing that they, I think, expect us to do is message prep. So that's a little bit of the week preparing.
How much time goes into a message, you think, for yourself? I guess it varies week to week, right?
It varies week to week. Maybe, 10 to 15 hours,
10 to 15 hours,
in a given week.
That sounds about right. Yeah, so it's like all of one work day, maybe plus half of another work day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think your rhythm's different from mine. Like I do Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings as well.
Well, we were just talking about this because I think I have... in high school, I was kind of a terrible student, but then I have a good friend named Brian Ju, which he's at our Boston church now. And so we were freshman year roommates, and he's one of these guys where he just constantly makes you feel guilty for not studying because he's always studying. And he's just really disciplined. So then kind of learned from him in college. So then I have that mindset of I really don't like procrastinating. So then for messages, I'm convinced that if I just work on it a lot, then I can get it done so I can move on to the rest of my week. But I still haven't learned, but with messages, you just never quite finish. It's one of those, it's hard to put it down. So
you're never really quite satisfied with anything you write.
Yeah. So then all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, all day Friday. And then pretty soon it's like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
But that's definitely one big thing that we do, messages. But it's not just that. I don't know. I think a lot of it is meeting up with students, meeting up with staff, just being fully available during the day. And try to go on campus to just be a part of the campus rhythm. And then we have kind of odd things too. Like one cool thing is that we have Midwest Lodge. So me and DP are kind of down there fixing things and meeting up with contractors and go to Home Depot. So that's a little bit of it too.
I felt bad recently because on Mondays I've been part of these like the catapult meetings, the meetings to do like, you know, talk about the future of our church and things like that. And then while I'm in like Zoom meetings, Kevin's going around checking the mouse traps.
Yeah, dude.
Discarding dead mice.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
to do most of that.
That's nice. And then like some of us full-time lead bros, we have like a Marco Polo thing. It's an app where we can send updates, and then I just love, hey guys, I'm at ML right now, and check out what I found. And then it's like dead rats.
Yeah.
So
people are like, oh, that's not what I was expecting to see.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's cool. It's a unique privilege, I guess, to be full-time, to be entrusted with the church and ministry and try to be all there for people.
Yeah. And I feel like the way, I've met a good number of pastors, and their roles range from people who are like teaching pastors who literally all they do is they just study and they just prep the next sermon and they're doing that 40 hours a week, to kind of, I think we're sort of on the other end of the spectrum where the role of a full-time lead is not really, of course, the preaching is a significant part of it, but really we view our role as a lot more holistic than that, right? It involves everything from, like property management to a lot of administration and logistics and future planning and kind of thinking about the vision for our church and things like that. So I like the fact that we get to do a lot of those like kind of random things too.
Yeah,
it's not just exclusively preaching.
And something recently that Pastor Red mentioned to the full timers that I thought was really, really you have to kind of remember is that you could be doing the right things but not be doing things right. or I'm sorry, it's the opposite. You could be doing things right, but not be doing the right things. And just the temptation is, oh shoot, like I'm a pastor, and so I got to get up there on Sundays and I got to preach this message, and it's easy to get into your office and close the door and like go away. I got to prep message, and in the process to like really be missing out on just people and being available for people, and that's a tension that I feel all the time. Because again, like technically, I guess I'm doing the right thing. Like I'm planning for events and planning for messages, but the reality is that like Jesus was so interruptible, and ministry is not just about preaching from a pulpit. It's about being fully available. It's understanding what people are going through. It's ministering to them. And so I feel that push and pull. And so for me, it's literally one commitment that I had to make is to leave my office door open, because it's too tempting to like just close it and crank away. But and then it's I don't know, sometimes easier said than done, because I live with 4 single guys. And we lived 2 blocks from campus, and so guys are over playing Star Realms and playing foosball, and like our house is kind of a de facto ministry center, and so it's kind of hard to separate the two. But almost have never regretted just being there, and like, hey, whatever's on your mind, man. Like, there's nothing else that I need to work on. Just being fully available for folks. But so we're kind of having to do everything.
Yeah, that's good. And yeah, so for people listening, that's Kevin's open invitation to interrupt him.
Oh, yo.
Just however you want. So
yeah,
and me too for the people in Hyde Park. Yeah. I know it can be kind of, it feels like, oh, you don't want to interrupt the leader, but no, actually, like that's part of our job, right? Is to have our lives open, and whoever needs to talk to us. So, so what is what's hard? Like maybe I can ask, like, what's been hard about full-time ministry? Because we went full-time at the same time, right, back in 2019. And so what's been hard about full-time ministry so far? And then what's been a blessing? Like what do you enjoy about this challenge? Because I think it is a challenge to be a full-time minister, but yeah.
So I was reminding DP of something that my wife told me recently, or rather recently this past year, is Emily was really blessed by this Time magazine cover of Joe Biden back in February, March of last year. And this is around the time when Russia invaded Ukraine, and so the Time magazine cover was Joe Biden, like with his head buried in his hands, and it's just really sorry looking. Because then it's tough to be a president. It's tough to be the top leader, because I mean, like domestic policy, foreign policy, like his agenda not being pushed through, and everyone has something negative to say, and so it's tough. Like the whole weight of the world is on his shoulders, and so then Emily is looking at that and she's feeling, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful I'm not Joe Biden, and I have nothing to complain about. I think that's hard. I mean, we're not the president of the U.S., but I think just being a top lead, it comes with it a whole host of things. I mean, just hey, what are we doing this week, and what's the plan, and or what's kind of the future direction of our church? What are we doing next quarter? Down to like just dealing with people and different issues, and helping people through different struggles, and just the fact that we have, I mean, U2DP, we have like young kids at home. Mm-hmm. My older son has eczema, so kind of like just dealing with that whole thing, even down to just laundry that's piling up, and dishes, and keeping our house clean, and family obligations. So I think just the wearing multiple hats, and having to make decisions is hard. And then just the reality of life too, that like if you make a decision, then it'd be cool if everyone's like on the same page, but then of course it's hard to please everybody, and there's constantly valleys and tension in all that we do. And so just having to kind of navigate through that is pretty hard. I don't know. I think blessing, one really sweet thing is as a church planter, you just get really close with your team. I don't know, just a lot of good memories, and not just doing cool things like taking trips and stuff, but I don't know, just doing life together, just knowing everything about what other people are going through, praying for their parents, cooking meals together, like celebrating birthdays, and then just doing ministry together. That's really sweet. Yeah, just getting really close with the other teammates.
Yeah. I was just thinking about like, just the sheer number of decisions, like, kind of when you were talking about what's difficult, the sheer number of decisions that need to be made, like at the top lead level. And and earlier we were joking that, maybe we should take that Joe Biden, that portrait, and put it over our desks or something, so we can constantly be reminded that at least we're not him.
At least there's Joe Biden.
Yeah, at least there's Joe Biden. But yeah, that's crazy. But I think I've definitely experienced a lot of growth in that area? Because you realize that actually, I think when we first started, it felt like every decision was like equally important.
Yeah.
But then over time, you sort of know like, okay, well, this one, there's not that many options. There's actually only like 2 or 3 different ways you can do this. And so you're able to like crank through those decisions a little faster. So it's all part of the growth process, I think. So yeah. So can I ask about like, because, you know, like you and Emily have always been a little bit ahead of us, like in terms of raising kids, because Jacob's a couple years older. And so like, how have you sort of processed being kind of a parent of young kids and then being in a pretty busy position of like having to lead a church and then kind of a small church, right? We're not like in Berkeley anymore. And you know, there's definitely not as many people around. Like, how have you kind of personally processed that for yourself? Like, I think a lot of people would find that really difficult.
Yeah, it's been hard. I think the tension is, you know, we want to be fully available for ministry and we don't want to slow down even when you get married, when you have kids. But then the reality too is that we are called to be fathers and to love and to raise up our kids. And so in the day to day, it's like, hey, Daddy, can we play? And it's like, oh man, like I'm meeting up with somebody and just give me a second, we can play later. And then something comes up, and so you do kind of feel a little bit bad too, like, oh shoot, am I spending enough time with my kids? I think one thing that I try to do is to not allow my kids to have an ounce of any self-pity. And so literally, Jacob, you're the luckiest boy in the world, huh? Yes. How many Lego sets do you get from your uncles, you know, and like how many people are over, and like, you got to do what? You're flying to California again? and so even recently, Jacob, he has like a starring role in this like dramatic reenactment of the parable of the talents at school. And he's been telling me ever since January, hey, Dad, Wednesday, March 22nd, like we have chapel. Our entire class is going to put on chapel for the entire school. And he's been kind of building up toward it. And then we only realized a couple of days ago that that's during our trip to California, our spring break trip. So he's not going to be there. He's been practicing his lines and he has it down pat. And even then it's like, oh shoot, we do feel kind of bad because we should have connected the dots that there was a conflict. But then even then, like, Jacob, you get to go onto an airplane and fly through the air at 700 miles per hour and eat like popcorn. And we're going to stay over at like 3 different houses and get to see the Sierra Nevada and be so just not to let them feel any sense of self-pity or entitlement, because the reality is that we do love them. We do spend time with them whenever we can on the weekends or at nights. And just last week I was teaching Jacob how to ride a bike and gave of myself in the process, kind of throw my back because I'm trying to hold on to his seat. But anyway, so I think that's kind of there too. Less because I think otherwise just emotionally it's too hard because if you feel pulled in so many directions. So there's that. I think one thing that I we've been trying to do recently, very practically, and our friend Wolshan heard it like on a podcast, but the power of even 15 minutes with your kid, 15 minutes, and then the crucial thing too is to do whatever the kid wants to do. And so those two in combination, because it's usually you can find at least 15 minutes in a given day. So for me, it's when they get home. And so I put down my phone, I put down my laptop, and it's like, all right, Jacob, let's go to your room. And it's Daddy Jakey time. And whatever you want to do, you tell me. Typically, I would just want to like read or do something kind of chill. But for him, it's like Legos, or it's, hey, let's build a fort, or hey, let's just talk. And then sometimes we'll actually just set a timer. But he loves that time, and he's like asking for that time every day. And it's surprising. It's just 15 minutes, but that's been really sweet. And so I have Daddy Joshy time, Daddy Jakey time. So that's another thing that we've been doing. And then maybe just a last one, if there are other parents out there, but just trying to get in the habit of having a lot of conversations with my kids, to have like a talking relationship rather than just hanging out. So one thing that I started a couple of years ago was Daddy's Lessons. And so I'm just a nerdy engineer who likes random facts about the world. And so we have a jingle, Daddy's Lessons, Daddy's Lessons. And then I go, hey, so Jacob, have you ever wondered how clouds work and how rain works? And he always says, yeah. And then I kind of nerd out on it. So just these small things to build rhythm, to build pattern, to build ritual that he really looks forward to. So yeah, those small things kind of help.
That's nice. Maybe you should start a podcast, and it should be Daddy's Lessons.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you should Yeah, and then everyone else can listen to your lessons.
Oh, shoot. Oh, yeah.
I'm sure Emma would want to listen to
Because
Uncle Kevin's lessons.
Because my wife doesn't want to listen to these lessons, so at least somebody
out there,
out there would want to listen.
That's really interesting though, because so what I'm hearing from what you're sharing is there's a little bit of like that daily intentionality. I really like that 15-minute time. I think I should do that with Emma too. And the key being like what they want to do, or what the kid wants to do, and then there's kind of the big kind of formative experiences that they get to have as a result of being part of the church kind of rhythm and life too. And I think I'm always trying to kind of tell Emma like how lucky she is and stuff like that. And I think I've mentioned on this podcast before how like when it's just our family eating, sometimes Emma's like, "Oh, is no one else coming over?" Like, "Oh,
it's just you."
So sad.
I know. It's like, jeez.
What? Come on, man! It's her family.
I'm your dad.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah. So but they love it. Yeah, they love the communal life. So So you've been at the NU ministry now for like almost 3 years now, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so maybe I can ask you, what's kind of your impression of NU students? Like, how would you describe a typical NU student?
Your typical NU student, I thought that they would be really kind of preppy, but like in the worst way. I don't know anything about NU, but I imagine it's kind of a top school. So really stressed out, really kind of nerdy, upper crust of society kind of a student. But my experience is that they're kind of down to earth, normal. You'll find your good collection of slackers and folks that play basketball. But the thing is, even the slackers get good jobs. So I don't know what to make of that. I think they're secretly really smart and really studious. And then there's the whole like NU. They one of their taglines is "and is in your DNA," and so the school itself really markets how you can pursue kind of all of your passions. So you can be in the music school, but you can also be a bioengineer, and they have this kind of glossy promotional video that they play. People are stressed out though, and it's like, dang, you're just doing a single major. There's almost like one of these like, oh, is that all you're doing? But the typical NU student is pretty stressed. It's a very pre-professional school, so people headed to different grad school programs or things, and so I think underneath the cheerful exterior, there's a lot of it's pretty hard. You'll get freshmen coming in even saying from the first day of school they feel like imposter syndrome and just the kind of the endless rat race. So really, so that's maybe typical of most students, but you see that a lot at NU.
So then let me ask you then about UChicago students, because that's the other big campus that we're at. I mean, we're at some of the other ones too, but we started here at UChicago. So what's your impression of UChicago students?
Yeah, UChicago students. I need to be careful because I'm here in Hyde Park, so I'm like here on your turf. DP, I remember what you said. I guess somebody told you that the UChicago student.
Now it's what I said.
Yeah. So it's like that kid in English class that raises their hands and talks in class, but who actually knows what they're saying.
Who actually knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, and so that's...
And UChicago is a school full of people like that.
Yeah, and everyone's like that, and people are slightly argumentative and combative with their words, and they delight in endless genealogies and fruitless. No, not fruitless. Just there's a certain cachet, I think, to be able to talk and discuss. It's really cool. I don't know. My experience of engaging with these Chicago students is that you're in for at least a scintillating conversation, but a little bit more uptight, I think, than NU students.
Yeah. Is that basically your impression of Alex Rodriguez? Is that what this is?
Yeah, Alex Rodriguez. If you're listening to this, I love you, man. No. Alex, I get NU vibes. Yeah.
That's pretty chill.
Yeah, he's pretty chill. He's pretty chill. But he has. I just learned that his first name is Wolfgang. Oh, I'm sorry. His middle name is Wolfgang.
Yeah, named after a physicist. Right?
Physicist. Yeah, his parents are hardcore physicists.
Both physicists, physics professors or something like that.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Yeah, so for people who don't know, Alex was a student here. He's a new grad, but he was a student here at UChicago, but he's part of the NU team now. So yeah, that's cool. So yeah, kind of going back to I guess the full-time ministry discussion. So like how did you end up going into full-time ministry? I'm sure that's a question that you get sometimes, but like what made you want to do it? How did that process look like for you?
Yeah. It was Well, by then, let's see. So I was doing college ministry in Berkeley for the better part of 5-6 years by then, and I think by then it was pretty clear that I really enjoyed ministering to college students. There were more than a couple of times where, man, like, and you had the experience, CP, too, where you minister to someone and they're far away from God, but something clicks, and that moment, like for me, I remember it was Barrows Hall and leading a student in Course 101 and a non-Christian background, junior transfer, and just that moment of decision, and it's like, and it's like, how did you get to this point? And you're just so thankful that they responded, and that sense of like, I can see myself doing this like for the long haul. So that was always there. But I grew up with parents who were very much into, hey, you need to kind of live for yourself, and the world's kind of a scary place, and have a good job and make money and have money in the bank, and just make sure, because you never know what will happen in life. And so I think that's kind of the push and pull in my heart too, because for full-time life, I mean doing ministry as a bivocational minister is one thing, but it's a whole other ballgame to say, hey, we're gonna give up our jobs and actually do this full time. And so I think I had a lot of fears about that, about like how my kids will turn out, how we'll do financially, just even like American dream, home ownership, all that. Because so much of my life had been toward that one goal. Like ever since I was a kid, it's SAT so you can get into a good college, ... so that you can live this kind of a life. And so I think that was the hard death. It was made a little bit easier because before I went full time, my wife did, and so that in itself was a big adjustment, going from 2 incomes to 1. That was at a point of our church where there was kind of a need that opened up for Emily to be able to work and help out with church things, and so that was kind of a small stepping stone for me. But I think what really helps is the Matthew 6:30, it's the store up for yourself treasure in heaven verse, and where moth and rust do not destroy, where thieves do not break in and steal. And it's just that picture of, man, like what's most important in life and what'll actually last. It's not anything on earth. And I tell this story all the time, but I was a natural gas pipeline engineer for PG&E, and if you know anything about metal pipes, is that they rust. They literally rust and are destroyed. And so we have this whole department called the cathodic protection department, and for all the nerdy Chicago chemistry majors, like cathodes, and anodes, and to do whatever they can to kind of prolong these pipes. But in 50 years, they rust. I got to replace it. And so literally, I thought, man, I'm spending all of my life investing in these darn pipes that in a couple of decades are gone. Like, what am I?
Literally?
Like, literally, yeah. So then, but then as opposed to that, you can invest in people and in God, and those things are eternal. And so I think it's small things like that. But I was a little bit late to the game. So this is back when our church did like a 1-year training program for those that wanted to try to get trained up to be sent out. And we received an email, hey, who wants to sign up? And I looked at the email, and I just archived it. It's like, great. Yeah, man. Power to you guys for whoever wants to do that.
Cool
that's
story, bro.
Yeah. It's like, that's nice, man. So that was in the fall of, maybe 2018 or 18. Yeah. But then there was, we had a staff retreat that winter, and it just, I don't know, hit with like the basic gospel again, and that Matthew verse again. And I just realized, oh man, I'm pretty wimpy. I'm pretty fearful, but I think maybe just for a year, I can maybe have enough courage to try this for a year. And then afterward, I sent Pastor Ed and Kelly an email. It was kind of late. I said, hey, like, here are different reasons why I didn't sign up initially, but hey, if it's not too late, I would love to at least try it. And they were gracious enough to let us try it. And so, yeah, kind of long story short, that's what happened.
Man, that's so like, I guess, so initially you didn't respond, and then you got hit by God's word.
Yeah.
And then you kind of came back and said, okay, I feel like I need to do this. Yeah. Right. And so, yeah, that's interesting.
Well, I think like another life verse for me is John 12, and it talks about the kernel of wheat, that like unless it falls to the ground and dies, it remains a single seed, but if it dies, it bears fruit. And that was a pretty crucial verse for me back when I was a new grad deciding to go to Taiwan or not. And that's for another that's a whole nother story. But I think that verse really kind of captures my life, where I just want to be that seed. I don't want to die. Like, I just want to hold on to my life, and I really don't want to surrender. I don't want to give up. But then if you do so, then you'll just remain a single seed. Like, you're not going to be a blessing to others. And so the picture of Jesus dying and bearing fruit, and so it was verses like that really helped me. So that was another verse too, as I was deciding to go full time. It's like, oh man, am I really going to hold on tightly to my own life, or am I going to let Jesus kind of be Lord over my life and surrender everything? So it's through different verses like that where I think God kind of grabbed a hold of my heart. And then I had just enough faith, maybe just for a year, God, and we'll kind of see from there.
Yeah.
But God kind of worked through a decision like that.
Yeah. So it sounds like when you signed up to go full time, your understanding was, we'll try it out for a year. It was like time bound, right?
Yeah.
So was there something that happened during that year because obviously, it wasn't just a year, right?
Yeah,
so it ended up not being just a year. So did something happen, or was there like a realization through that year, or like kind of what carried? Because you came out here to Chicago a year and a half after we went full time, right? So
yeah. Well, I think this is not a very spiritual answer, but I think at least two things happened. One was with regards to finances, that I didn't die and it was okay. And so I think that was, again, a big barrier for me, but just, I don't know, maybe it's just learning to live a little bit more frugally, or just to, I don't know, kind of that kind of seeing that play out for the year was okay. Yeah. And receiving a lot of love and a lot of help from other people too. And I think there was a certain picture of life that had to die too. And so specifically with regards to finances, one thing that my mentor counseled me was just thinking about the typical picture of the American dream, how you would work really hard and save up like a nest egg for yourself or for your kids, so that you can retire. And I remember my mentor was saying, hey, but like, what's the picture of retirement? It's I don't know, maybe in like Arizona somewhere, living like a pretty lavish and pretty nice life, with golf carts and golf and, like kind of a pretty nice life. But he said, hey, but like, is that the life that we envision for ourselves? Are we really going to be living that way, or are we just going to keep living a life on mission until we pass away? And and I realized that's probably true. I mean, it's good if you can save up money, but for the most part, I want to keep trying to do ministry, whether it's to college students or it's to like other elderly residents at an elderly home. But I really don't need like all that much money to live a really fulfilling life even after retirement. And so I think little things like that kind of help me to just put a little bit of perspective on finances. So that was one. And then I think secondly, just doing it with others. So then DP, just our Fitlit, like the other bros, Isaiah, Stephen, John, Tim, and just doing life together. That was awesome. And it was like nearly 24/7 together. And so we'd have times with Pastor Daniel in the Berkeley room going through course 201. We would be, like Tony's son, so Stefan's dad, he was kind of our de facto like drill sergeant and
physical trainer.
And so like even at a good 50 years old, he's laughing us out there, and
he's outrunning us.
And to this day he would still send us these really sweaty like selfies of him having run like 8 miles, and he still says, hey,
a screenshot of his like run,
his Nike Plus,
his like 5-minute mile or something.
It's like, what are you guys doing with your life? And it's very formative times. And just time with Pastor Ed and Kelly, and I don't know, just realizing that like it's so sweet to do life together and do it in community, and so you don't feel too crazy when you have other crazies next to you.
Yeah, man. I really miss those because, like we went full time it was supposed to be for a year. And then, after 6 months, like us, me and Kata, we got, sent out early to Chicago. So we missed out on the rest of that fellowship together. But man, those first 6 months, I have a lot of fond memories of. Yeah. Particularly, I think the most formative memories were exercising with Tony's son in the morning and just getting whooped by him every day.
It's pretty nice. Yeah, maybe that should shape how we do ministry. Maybe we should.
Maybe we need to start that up again. Maybe we should do just the early morning exercise together with all the brothers. Or something.
But he is Tony's son, and I'm Kevin Huang. So I'm
but
not
we
sure
have Stefan's son, so maybe he can grow into that role.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Stefan. All right, that's your next role.
Are listening?
Nice. So maybe we can then kind of talk a little bit about like kind of some of your formative experiences, like high school or not high school, like college and beyond.
Yeah.
And because I know you grew up going to church, right?
Yeah.
But maybe you can kind of just quickly take us through like what you were like as a high schooler and kind of your journey kind of to faith and lordship into college.
Yeah. Yeah. So in high school, if I can capture it in 2 words, I would say plaid shorts.
Plaid shorts.
And so I'm curious how many people listening to this podcast could say that you worked as a floor model in high school. Well, that was me.
Oh, wow.
So I was officially a model, which means that I was the pimply Hollister salesperson folding clothes in like the back room. Okay, so I worked for Hollister when I was in high school. So I would.
Do our people even know what Hollister is?
Oh man,
is that like a national brand or is that just in California?
Myself? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a clothing. It's a
clothing brand. Yeah, it was kind of cool. Yeah, kind of cool.
I would wear plaid shorts and then rainbows. So those are like the sandals, and then I would wear like pink polos. And if I'm feeling really daring, I would wear two polos. So when you pop the collar, you have 2 colors on the inside and outside.
What?
So anyways.
Was that a thing?
No, it wasn't a thing. Okay. I don't know.
Dang.
Yeah, so I think for me, my one mission in life in high school was to be impressive. But then I think undergirding that is a deep sense of insecurity of really wanting people to like me. I grew up the youngest of 3 of 2 older brothers, and they're pretty competent in different ways. And so I was always feeling like, oh man, I gotta earn my place in the world. And so that in typical kind of Asian fashion, that was directed primarily towards school. So trying to do well in school, but then it was also it was in the church world too. And so I grew up going to church, and so that manifested in just serving and helping out at church. And so I think that was kind of my main goal in life. And then when I came to college, I just remember being hit with the aspect of the gospel where it's a free gift. Like you don't have to earn it. You don't have to be impressive. If anything, the gospel says that we're broken sinners. And so it was in college that the gospel really hit me afresh for the first time. Winter retreat freshman year, and it was like the lordship pie, and realizing that I hadn't given full lordship over my entire life to Jesus. But I think, and then really experiencing kind of after that my big, I don't know, just learning to embrace that identity as someone who's beloved and really doesn't have to earn anything. And so the picture in Mark 1:11 of God telling Jesus that you are my beloved son, with you who I am well pleased, and just the observation that, man, God told him that, before Jesus even did an ounce of ministry. That was before his ministry, and God bestowed that identity on him. And so I think a lot of my testimony is really understanding that I don't have to earn my place and my keep, that God loves me thoroughly. And then from there, like from that place of being sure in that identity, then comes ministry and an output. So that's a little bit of my story. But I think what was really formative is it was going to a Taiwan mission trip my junior year. I think that really changed my life. It was so that was summer after my junior year. And if you haven't been on foreign missions, it's something about just being on mission 24/7. Originally I didn't want to sign up because it costs a lot of money. And then I was also hoping for a summer internship, but a couple of my friends signed up, and I decided to kind of join on last minute. But I went there, and it was like, I mean, Taiwan is like 95 degrees, 100 degrees, 100% humidity, and you're sweating through your shirt, and you're out there every day, and like trying to meet people and play basketball and putting on gospel nights. And it's one of those experiences where you're thoroughly beat at the end of the day, but you're so like happy. And it's like, this is crazy. It doesn't make sense. Like I should be complaining, but really, really enjoying that time. And then afterward, I just we had a time to write reflections and from like the trip. And then, my parents emigrating from Taiwan, I just thought like, wow, we're history a little bit different. I would be one of these, thousands of faceless, nameless, non-Christian, tall, lanky Taiwanese guys that didn't know Jesus, that were headed to hell and had no idea. And like, how is it that like somehow the gospel came to me, and I have the answer, I have the solution to life. And so coming back, that was going into my senior year, lived at Dana House, and there was like a fresh fire, like, oh man, I got to do something with the gospel. And so that was the year when we first started having students teach Course 101. It's a lot more common now, but this is back in 2009, 2010, and just teaching someone like Course 101. And then at Dana House is a big house with like, when I was there, it was 22 guys. And so it was like just people, I don't know, thinking about ministry and having people over, and we would do 7 a.m. prayer. And that was a pretty formative year too, of just trying out ministry. A lot of mishaps too. Like we would have people over and then like we didn't know how to cook. So like we open the rice pot and it's still watery. It's like, bro, there's one button. Like you got to press the cook button. And he was like, oh no, but the light was on. It's like, no, that's the keep warm light. You got to press, there's one button, and so we had to like just figure out ministry and stumbling through it.
Yeah.
But that year it was, that was like class of 2013. So Kenneth Balibalos, Kevin Huang, Josh Yim, those guys when they were freshmen. So, really God kind of got a hold of my heart, through that mission trip and then that senior year.
Wow. And then I know that you ended up in Taiwan again,
Yeah.
right? Like as a more long-term, I guess it was 1 year, right? 1 year in Taiwan. And that was your second year out?
Yeah, my second year
Your
out.
second year out of college. So could you maybe tell us a little bit about like how you decided to go to that? Like,
Yeah. So how that happened was when I got back, we also had a discipleship retreat that year. And it was after I'd gotten back from the mission trip. And then as a part of that time, Pastor Ed had us respond to a question. It was like a vision casting kind of a question. And the question was, if you had a few like-minded peers, and if money or resources wasn't an issue, then what would you want to do for God? And just coming back from Taiwan, I was like, dude, I would love to go back and just serve the people there, share the gospel. And so we wrote our answers kind of individually. And then afterward, we had a chance to share by life group. And it was one of those God moments. Sierra Lodge, lights are dim, music is playing. And out of my, maybe 6 or 7 peers, 4 of us shared, hey, like, I would love to go back to Taiwan. And it's like, dang, like, do you really mean that? And do you mean that? And we're looking at each other and like, is this going to happen? And it was, I don't know, that was like a seed that was planted on our hearts. And so, but it's one of those like, that was nice. That was a cool time. And then kind of shelved that plan because we're heading into senior year. Senior year happened, graduated. I went to grad school, a 1-year master's, and then finished that. And I will always remember it was 2011. So it was when I was finishing that 1 year. We had a Thanksgiving retreat, and back then it was a huge affair. We'd have reports from other church plants and things. So Pastor Andy, he was in Taiwan as the pastor there. He flew back. So he was in Berkeley, and so he was giving like a report of the Taiwan ministry, and as a part of that time, he was sharing things that were really encouraging there. There's a lot of brothers, and so at the end he said, we have a need in our ministry. We have a need for young, single, Chinese-speaking bros. And I'm sitting there, in row 16. I'm like jacked, young, single. Is like, oh no. And that started 3 months of some of the most miserable months of my Christian life. It was like, I'm going to Taiwan for sure. Forget this. And then, oh no, I'm not going to go to Taiwan. And really feeling the seesaw. I think compounded was right around that time, that spring. I essentially got the job of my dreams as a Mechie in the Bay Area. There's not too many jobs, but I happened to get a job that was really close by and was kind of in my line of work too. And so it was one of these like, oh man, am I going to take this job or am I going to go to Taiwan? And I just remember like pacing around my room and praying. And that was the first time that I actually went to Pastor Ed's office and I knocked on the door and I said, hey, Pastor Ed, can you help me? And really kind of struggling through this decision. I remember he gave me a really helpful book. It's God's Will for Anxious Christians. And And as there's one chapter that says it's called "Why You Don't Need to Know God's Will for Your Life," and the short of that chapter essentially is like, how do you know what God's will is? One is, if it's a sin, then you know for sure that's not God's will. But otherwise, God gives us wisdom. You see that all throughout Psalms and Proverbs. God gives us wisdom to decide. And so Pastor was reassuring me that in this case, like it's one clearly a sin and one is not. No, that's not the case. I think I would have wanted to serve God regardless. Like taking the job and being in Berkeley and doing ministry, like that's good. And then going to Taiwan and giving up the job, that would have been good as well. So essentially I had to decide. And so I remember calling the hiring manager and saying, I'm not gonna take this job. I'm gonna be a missionary. And she said, "You're crazy, and do you know what you're doing?" And this is kind of like post-recession. But I ended up turning it down. And then those three other peers, they all decided to do the same thing too. And so that year there were 4 of us that got to go there to Taiwan to serve. One of the best years of my life. Really crazy what God allowed me to experience that year. And then just to kind of, man, I could just keep going, but yeah, so you feel free to stop me. But
yeah.
I think,
I think you should just tell us about your time there. Like, I mean, best year of your life. Like, what is it that God showed you through that time? Yeah.
Or how about, before that, I think, I experienced like my parents not being happy. And so that was a whole thing too, really breaking my parents' heart. And so, it's one of those, like I called my mom and I said, "Hey, this is what happened." And cause my mom knew about that job offer too. And so she was happy about the job. When I told her, I'm going to do this Taiwan thing, she hung up. And it's like, uh-oh. So then I call back and then dad picks up and says, "Hey, mom's not talking to you." And it's like, I'm like the nice Chinese boy, and never did anything close to this. And so I just felt rotten, like, oh shoot, what am I doing? And then I remember talking to John Chow. I met up with him because we were in the same ministry group. So John is at Santa Barbara, John and Carol. And I was kind of sharing my heart because I knew that he had served in Taiwan as well. And he was like, "Oh yeah, my mom did that to me too." And he's like, "Oh yeah, like that's, hang in there and she'll kind of come around eventually and really love them and pray for them." And the next time that I saw my mom, so that was around like February. The next time I saw her was my graduation day in May. And I remember I was waiting for her at Gypsies and she walks in and she just pretended like nothing happened. And she gave me a hug and we never really talked about it. But fast forward to, gosh, this is toward the end of that one year. I had heard kind of through the grapevine that at church, my mom started bragging about me. "You wouldn't believe my son. He's a missionary. He turned down a job to serve the people." I'm like thinking, what the heck, Mom? You can't you can't. So anyways, I think God was working on her heart through that decision. And I think she kind of respects the life that I live now. And so it was, that year, I think to summarize my experience there, I think I was going in there with a head full of steam that I was going to accomplish all these things for God. But God had a really different plan. My experience afterward is that God really was trying to work on me rather than working through me. I think ministry was hard, and so there wasn't much ministry output. But it was through that year that God really kind of worked on my heart, I think. And so I kind of laugh about it now, but so thankful that God placed me there with Pastor Andy. And if you guys don't know Pastor Andy, he's an awesome leader, and he has a gift of just really humbling people because I was this hot shot, and there's this, oh man, the 0% story. I'll keep it kind of brief, but essentially, when I first got there, I remember talking with Will Wu, and Will he had been there serving for 6 months or a year by then. So Will is at our OSU ministry now, and he said, "Kevin, I'm so thankful you're here. I can finally win." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And it turns out that they would always do old versus young competition, everything, basketball, foosball, like ping pong, football. And so by us 4 youngins coming in, we finally pushed Will up to the older ones. Yeah, he's only a year older than us, but quickly realized what he said. So we would just constantly get destroyed, like playing basketball and things. And I don't know, like I think just my own ego really had to die in different ways. but really felt ministered to as well from Pastor Andy. And I think a lot of it too was kind of exposing how it's crazy, but you can really be serving God, but your heart can really be far from God. And he identified that for me. Like here I was, like I gave up a job and I was serving there, and that really got into my head. And he noticed that there was very little love for people, which again sounds crazy. Like, how could you be doing ministry and not have a love for people? But seeing that I was kind of hollowing out, going through the motions, and then I was also like really anxious about work too, and so my heart was really split. I was checking for jobs back at home, and so he ended up kind of helping me work through that. But I remember him sharing his heart with me. He said, "Hey Kevin, like it's totally cool if you want to go back and get a job, like that's fine, but like I want you to love people and to be so present here in this ministry while you're here, such that it'll be really hard for you to leave at the end." Because he sensed though that I was kind of on my way out, and I'm so thankful for that challenge. And so that, I don't know. So I had 6 months, and that was a really sweet 6 months. I think they're just lingering conversations with the other staff. I remember me and Sam. So Sam Fu, he's still out there. He's class of 2012/13. He's one of the staff there, and we were praying for one of his old friends, Leon, and we were roommates then. And I just remember praying. It was New Year's Eve of 2011, 2012, and we were really praying for his friend Leon to surrender his life to Christ. And then New Year's Day, we had a service. And then out of all days, Pastor Andy had an altar call. And like, it's one of those, like Leon stands up and it's slow motion and he's walking to the front, and like I'm like tearing up, and then Sam's tearing up, and then he gives his life to Christ. And he's still there to this day. Leon's actually one of the staff there. And so it's moments like that where it's really God's grace. Getting to experience that. So just really thankful. And then by the year's end, I think I left a good chunk of my heart there with the other staff and the students there. So so that was like 2012, and then came back. It was kind of weird. I re-interviewed for that same job at that company. I ended up getting that job, and then much later I got to talk to that hiring manager, and it turns out that she's Christian. And it turns out that not just that, but she had done college ministry back when she was in college, and then she got married, and her husband did college ministry. But I'll never forget what she said after. She said, "But then, Kevin, I had kids." And she said, "You know how it is. Like it's soccer practice. It's like day in, day out, it's travel." And she said, "Oh man, I'm really proud of what you did of turning down the job to serve there. Like I don't know how you do what you do, but it's really cool seeing you really go all out for God." And so like that's crazy, because this is the same lady who said, like, "What are you doing giving up this job?" But there was almost like a nostalgia in her mind, like, wow, like the path that you chose is kind of crazy, but it's pretty neat. And so in my better moments, able to kind of zoom out and say, wow, I'm really getting to live the dream. It's pretty cool what I get to do for God every day.
Yeah. I mean, I think what you're sharing about like how your boss, the hiring manager responded as well as your parents, it just kind of reminds me that we kind of have to take what people say to us, or the kind of the initial responses people give to us, with a grain of salt, because like a lot of times they're saying one thing, but they might be thinking something else, right? Like, or they might be giving the advice that they feel like they should be giving you. But then actually, like when we are people of conviction and we try to follow what we believe and we try to live out a biblical life, people kind of do a second, kind of force them to do a double take and like you really believe in what you believe.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge testimony, especially to our parents. I think a lot of people who have like parents who are not necessarily believers or may not agree with how people are choosing to live out their lives. Like ultimately, the greatest testimony is not going to be what you say you believe, but like how you actually choose to live it out, right? And so I think I see that kind of pattern in what Kevin was sharing. So yeah, that's neat. So so maybe you can just tell us a little bit about, like, we'll fast forward now, because so I mean you were in Berkeley for a number of years, right? You ministered to which classes were you with?
A lot of the even numbers, so 2014, 16.
Got it.
And then 20.
And then 2020.
Yeah.
And then in 2020, you guys moved out.
Yep.
here to Chicago. So maybe just tell us a little bit about like what your Chicago experience has been like. So, I guess we talked about full-time transition earlier, but kind of, how's ministry been here on a elite private school? How's it been leading a small team and trying to figure out Chicago ministry?
Yeah, moving to plant a church in 2020 mid-COVID was great. It was a painful time. And you come and everything's shut down. And so a lot of that first year, and Matt Choi, if you're listening, man, we remember like, all right, like online services and Zoom and like just online games. And I'll never forget, like they had this crazy challenge. Like this is like the first thing that we did with our students. And this is our glorious introduction to NU ministry, but then our staff graciously blended together all these terrible foods and had made this mega pink smoothie that we drank like on camera. Like, it's just that it was a different era. But a spicy food challenge. So a lot of that, but I think in hindsight that was kind of a blessing because it meant a lot of time spent with the staff and just jumpstarting our relationship and just trying a lot of things, working hard. And so that first year was kind of a blur, but that was reaching out to the now juniors. So Joel and Iva. I will always remember too. It was our welcome night. It was a virtual welcome night that year, and then in the middle of our welcome night program, we get Zoom bombed, it was a terrible, jarring experience.
Oh gosh.
So then we managed to kick them out because they were being really disruptive. And then so I'm the Zoom host, and then on their participants channel it says Iva Hammett Kess is in the waiting room, and I'm like, Zoom bomber, decline.
Oh.
I kicked them out. I'm like trying to get back. Turns out, but then Iva, she rejoined again, so bless her soul, and I let her in, and of course it was this sweet, a freshman who happened to just join a little bit late, and so sorry about that, Iva. She's now one of our.
That's funny. I didn't know that part
juniors. Of the story. Yeah, because I was like, what is this Zoom barber coming back?
Iva.
Yeah, Iva. So that was a kind of a transitional kind of a year, but spent a lot of time there, and then. But yeah, since then it's been an adjustment. Yeah, coming from a big public school to a smaller private school, I think just a lot of what I really strive to do is just to understand the culture, the people, the rhythms of campus, just being present. And it's crazy. It's like trying to pilot like a ship on a stormy sea. It's like it's I don't know. Everything is constantly changing. You don't know where the horizon is, and it's just a lot of trying things and adjusting. And so one model that we had in our ministry was it's a framework of like ready, aim, fire, but there's something to be said about just fire. Like just I don't know what's gonna work. We can spend all day trying to figure out where to aim this gun, but let's just try things. And so been kind of trying to experiment with different things. But it's been really cool. So I guess more recently this past quarter. What we've been doing in our ministry is one thing that we've been trying is Vanguard, and I know UChicago has been doing a variation on it too. But I think just coming out of retreat, our winter retreat, all of us are really addressed like, oh man, heaven, hell, and spiritual battle, and we have the gospel. And so, I sent out this kind of intentionally, like, intense email. Hey, we're going to do this evangelism training group, and hey, this is not for the faint of heart. Like it's totally cool. Like we can disciple you in different ways, just for those that want to join. But if you want to join us Saturday mornings, 8 a.m., we're going to pray on campus for an hour, and then at 9 we're gonna do some evangelism training. We're gonna just pray and read and share and kind of scheme together of how to like reach our campus for the gospel. Fully expecting a couple of students to join to sign up, but that first Saturday, 8 a.m., there were 13 of them that came, and it's cool, just really experiencing something happening, like in my heart and the hearts of the staff, but also the students too. And so really cool seeing the gospel conversations now happening, people really burdening for their friends, for their roommates, such that we're starting to see some Course 101s start too, and now pretty excited heading into spring quarter to try to do different things, to try to reach campus. So that's been a bright spot for us. And then I think another thing too is just seeing college students get involved in loving youth, and we had a chance to go to 2 separate churches a couple of weeks ago on a Friday, and so we had a chance to do a like Bible study, apologetics booths for some of the youth, and it's been kind of a really sweet experience seeing college students really serving. I think that's my own personal experience too, where like sometimes it's as we serve God, it's as we do ministry that everything else kind of clicks and falls into place. Like that causes our prayers to kind of come alive. It causes devotions to come alive. So seeing the interplay play out with our staff and our students has been pretty exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. So as you think about Chicago church, like, 5-10 years down the line, like, is there something that comes to mind, like any sort of vision or kind of what you would hope to see start to happen in our church here?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, we've been kicking around the idea of city church. And that's like so cool. It's the picture of maybe like a cross-generational congregation, cross-campus. I would really love to see that happen. I think just the reality is that Chicago is such a destination for postgraduates, just like a rather big city here in the Midwest. And I don't know, maybe even like a postgraduate ministry too. But I think that gets me pretty excited seeing, because the reality is that a lot of these campuses are at least in my mind, kind of small compared to the large public schools. And so, but I think coming together, joining forces, just building a lot of cross-campus relationships and worshiping together at a single service. That'll be, I don't know, that's pretty exciting, kind of seeing the scale and the depth of relationships that we can enjoy. So that's kind of one thought. And then I think, I don't know, like just seeing the vision of our church continue to be passed down to some of the students, and really appreciating, I don't know, just really cool to see if we can in 5 or 10 years time to even send out like a church planting team from our ministries here. Like that sounds pretty crazy, but I don't know. I think there's still so much of the college campus nationwide that's unreached, and to see, hey, are there still people that are willing to ante up and do this crazy thing of maybe putting their careers, their futures on hold for a couple of years and serving God like in some other place. Yeah. Like I would really want to see that passed on. And Yeah. We've been kind of throwing around that city church idea, sort of, when we've been talking, and I think that'd be so awesome too. And I think the destination city that you were referring to, it's sort of like all the other schools in the Midwest. I mean, as those ministries mature, like people graduate, like a lot of them are going to end up in Chicago, right? And so for us to become a church where we can kind of be a place where we receive new grads and kind of have ministries for them to do. I mean, Chicago's a city with a lot of needs. Yeah. Yeah. And then the whole picture of like Kevin and I have seriously been talking about like what would it look like to have a Sunday service, for example, where like U Chicago, NU, UIC, IIT, Loyola, DePaul, like students from all these campuses that are like not that far from each other. Yeah. But like they're all kind of small. But then if you all come together, you could actually have a pretty sizable group and a really diverse group of people that are worshiping together and calling each other brothers and sisters in Christ, and then being sent out to like minister to people in Chicago, be a source of blessing. Like I feel like that's sort of the part, at least a portion of the picture of the end game somehow in Chicago. So I mean, that's definitely something we've been thinking about and talking about. So and then even like seeing youth ministry, I think there's just a huge kind of ministry opportunity there too. And I think that'd be really cool to see a robust kind of youth ministry, whether it's inter-high, whether it's area youth ministry, kind of blessing other churches. Because I think that's again, just the nature of the city and the suburbs and the surrounding areas. Just, I think so many churches out there that would die to even have one or two committed, community members help out with their youth group, and to see a whole host of students who are mobilized and excited and who are equipped to go and to be a blessing to existing churches. I think that'd be really, really sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, and if and I think always the battle is like, do people have the time, or are people willing to give the time, right? Because obviously everything we're talking about entails then a little bit more travel than we're used to, or
Right.
needing to gather together or coordinate and things like that. And
Yeah.
but I feel like each of these campuses that we're at, we're sort of gathering a core group of people who are, I think, starting to see what our church is about and getting excited for ministry. And I feel like we could start moving in that direction, and trying to get us all to kind of join forces, be the church in Chicago together, a group of college students excited for the Lord and really blessing Chicagoland through that. So that'd be super awesome. Maybe to wrap up, kind of thinking back on your story, I think there were kind of various moments at which I think you experienced a lot of like kind of catalytic moments, whether it was going to Taiwan, the first time going to Taiwan, the second time going full time. And each of these times, I think you sort of, it's like you were like scared, but then like God spoke to you. And so you like ended up like choosing to do it, but then like you really experienced God through it. And so like, how would you kind of, if you had to sum up like your experiences thus far into like a spiritual lesson as a way to kind of encourage or exhort our students, like how like what would you want to tell them, like, just as a word of exhortation?
Yeah, this may sound kind of cliche, but as I look back, like I never regret obeying God, and that's usually only in my better moments, in my more clear moments. Do I really try to obey? It's hard though, because in the moment, sometimes obedience doesn't make a lot of sense. But as I look back to the different catalytic pivotal moments, like, am I going to trust God in this area or not? Am I going to surrender this area or not? Like, I've never regretted obeying. It's not to say that every time it was awesome and smooth, but there's something about looking back and just having the benefit of hindsight, really seeing that, like, God, I think He knows what He's doing. Like, He is God. He is the author of life. He knows what leads to thriving. And so I think just never regretted giving more of my time or of my money or of my energy or just surrendering my family, my relationships, in every one of those situations, really experiencing just it's cool to be a blessing, and it's cool to be able to love people and to minister to people. And so I think again, it's gonna sound really cliche, but if you're just figuring out, man, like, should I trust God with this area of my life or not? To be able to zoom out and see, like God is trustworthy. He knows what He's doing. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget when I was in high school as a nerdy mechanical engineer. My dream school was MIT, and I applied early. I was pretty confident I would get in, and I would snoop on these kind of like college admissions forums online and stuff. And then so people would start saying, "Hey, I started to get my letters," and so back then MIT sent these tubes, like mailing tubes, if you got in. And so every day I would look out my window and fully expect, the mailman with the tube, and then I got the letter, and it's like, shoot. And I had one of these existential, like, what, and then my brother, my older brother, he was sharing the Proverbs 3:5-6 verse, the trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your paths. And just like Him telling me, hey, don't lean on your own understanding, Kevin. Like, you really don't know how God is leading you. I really trust God with all of your heart and acknowledge Him in everything that you do. And I don't know, like, of course, in that case, I didn't choose like Berkeley over MIT. It kind of chose me. But looking back, I'm so thankful how life played out. But I can testify though in different decisions of my life, like to trust God and to follow Him has really been for the better. So that would be kind of my one word.
Yeah. When you were sharing it, like, it reminded me of that situation in 1 Kings where 1 Kings 18, but basically Elijah's confronting the people of God, and then he says to them, how long will you go limping between two different opinions? If the Lord is God, follow Him. But if Baal, then follow him. And then the ominous words, it says, and the people did not answer him a word. And it's like, and you just know, like something bad's about to happen, right? And
Yep.
so it's sort of like, when you were saying like you don't have any regrets from saying yes. I think all my regrets in my life of following Jesus has been when I did not speak back, when I did not answer him back a word. And but when I did say yes, right, I think that has always led to blessing in my life. So yeah, and I think that's part of what faith looks like, you know, like and then I think both yours and my experience is that God didn't speak to us in this audible voice or anything. Like he spoke to us often through like situations or an opportunity to sign up for something or just an opportunity to say yes to some new challenge. And, when we said yes to those things, and God led us all the way. So, all right. Well, I think that's it. I think that's it for today.
Cool.
Oh, thanks, Kevin.
All right.
All right. All right. Well, that's another episode of D-Pod. Finally had Kevin on here. And we'll continue to interview some of the Chicagoland leads. And I know some of you have been asking to have some of the students on. So maybe we'll do that soon. All right. See ya.